What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. I am Sam, that is Mike, and today we will be breaking down some of the stuff that has been coming out of camp for the Seahawks. It's now been, I believe, about a solid week since camp has kicked off. And, I mean, there's been a lot of news coming out, not necessarily so much video, but news coming out about what has been going on. The Seahawks also had a mock game yesterday. So we have a lot of stuff that we can go on. There's been a couple breakout players, a couple guys who have been sitting out due to injury, a couple guys who have been sitting out due to other reasons. So we're going to break all that down. And I say that we just dive right on into it here. And I just want to bring up a guy who's been consistently brought up as one of the studs of camp, and that's been Penny Hart. Penny Hart as basically the slot receiver. I think he had one catch last year, and that was on a reverse or like a jet sweep or whatever. Yeah. So it doesn't really count as a catch, but it goes on the board as a catch. But I mean, Penny Hart has, been really good at camp. Seems like he kind of showed up out of nowhere. He has been just catching everything. There's a video that came out of him like really showing out, and like I think he really got good separation on DJ Reed. DJ Reed caught up, and Penny Hart still caught a contested deep ball. I mean, in a situation where, as I said, a guy who's sitting out is Dwayne Eskridge. Dwayne Eskridge is still sitting out with a toe injury.
Not great.
It makes you feel at least a bit more comfortable knowing that there's somebody waiting back there. However, reports have said that Dwayne Eskridge is expected to come within the next week. Or next week. So that's good. At least good to hear. I doubt that he plays in the first couple preseason games, maybe, but we're gonna see how that flies.
Hopefully preseason game 3 is I think the hope at this point that he plays there. But yeah, speaking of guys who have been breakout players, obviously we're not going to talk about a whole lot of starters, just guys who have, really started to prove themselves. Alex Collins has had a really solid camp so far. Mm-hmm. From all reports, obviously Chris Carson is killing it. But from all reports, Rashad Penny is not necessarily doing amazing in camp, and Alex Collins has picked up the slack. I mean, there was like a play action pass. Russ rolled to the right, screen to Alex Collins, made a guy miss. I mean, he looks good. He's looked good in camp from all the reports. So Alex Collins is another guy to watch out for the preseason, because I bet you he's going to get a lot of reps in the preseason. So excited to see how he does in the preseason there.
Yeah, I really am too. And especially another guy who's been really breaking out that running back position is DJ Dallas, a guy who I think is slated to be the starting running back 3 due to his pass blocking and receiving ability, because he's a great pass blocker and he was a former receiver. So I think that really works out in his favor over guys like Rashad Penny, who might be like a sub-in second down and first down back when Carson has just carried the rock maybe 2, 3, 4 times in a single drive. Maybe that's when you sub in Penny and have him be the technical bell cow of the team while Carson's out. But, overall, I'm really liking what I've heard out of camp. Another guy who's, of course, slated to be a starter, but has been really proving himself is Keller Witherspoon. Keller Witherspoon has apparently looked really fluent. He's looked really loose, something that a lot of people have complained about him being. Which is, being too tight. A lot of people said he has tight hips in San Francisco, said he didn't look natural. Said it looked like he had to try for everything. Apparently he's been much more fluent. He's looked very good, which is just great for us to hear, because of course he's probably going to be our starting left corner because of what Pete likes in his corners. So, I'm loving that. I'm loving that because
I love me some Spoon. Another thing that is, I wouldn't say it's like a breakout because this is a coach, but another really, really positive for the Seahawks so far during camp is that offense looks juiced because of Shane Waldron. DK Metcalf talked about it. I saw Russell Wilson. Pretty sure Tyler Lockett talked about it also. They're getting the ball out quicker. They're, the passing routes are very complex, hard for the defense to figure out. So that is what I think we were really lacking last year. Our quick game just was not there, right? So the fact that they're repping it and they're getting used to it, and let's be honest, our offensive line isn't a strength. The defensive lines in the NFC West are amazing. So in order to, alleviate some of that pressure off of Russell Wilson, the quick game has got to be there. And from all accounts, the quick game looks great. They're repping it out. And so that is a really, really good thing to hear. Very happy that Shane Waldron has been doing that so far in camp.
Yeah. And really another thing that, kind of came out from camp that wasn't necessarily a player or like a play was that Gerald Everett, who was with the Rams, I believe, he was Sean McVay's first pick with the Rams.
Oh, wow.
And he said, I don't know if he's trying to juice Waldron's ego or whatever, that he said that Waldron was always the dude in the box calling the shots, and he would give Sean the plays to call.
We just stole Sean McVay, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, Sean McVay just has like a massive fall
He's
off.
A fraud.
He's like 22 dive. It's like 3rd and 30, like last play of the game for it's
like 4th and 10. 4th and 10 is like halfback draw. They're like, what?
They're like, Sean.
Yeah. He starts sweating.
He's like, what do I call? It's either I call a slant play or I call a draw.
He tones over. He's like, Shane. Oh. And Shane's like calling.
All right, Shane, what do we got here?
It's just.
It's like when you flip to that wrong channel on the TV and it's just like no signal. It's just like
he's like, oh man, yeah. So if the Rams totally collapse this year, it's because Shane Waldron.
It's not because of John Johnson or anybody like that leaving. It's Shane Waldron. Trust me. But Colby Parkinson has been another guy who's looked very good at camp. Geno Smith has apparently just been feeding him the ball in second team reps, just like throw it up to Colby and Colby will have a good day.
Honestly, like when you have he's 6'7"?
6'7".
Yeah, he's 6'7". As the backup quarterback, he's just trying to get completions. Just throw it to the tallest guy.
And apparently Geno has been like dealing at camp. He's been like
we traded for a first round pick.
Yeah, trade him back to the Jets for a first round pick.
Yeah, give him back to the Jets for their first round pick.
John Schneider just monitoring. It's like that picture of him with like the glowing eyes, monitoring. I'm monitoring the situation.
Zach Wilson out of the league by week 6.
Yeah, it's like the quickest Jets fall off of any Jets quarterback. Just like,
nah, but I can't do this no more.
It's like a Ryan Leaf situation where he's just like, they're just like, you're cut, you're gone. We can't take you anymore. But like, all right. I mean, now we have to get to maybe some of the negatives of camp. Which would be Jamal Adams and Dwayne Brown.
I would say
sitting out.
I would say Dwayne Brown sitting out of camp is more of a negative.
Pete Carroll made it seem like they both weren't going to practice.
Yeah.
Because Dwayne is old and he really never practiced at all last year. Like he didn't practice.
Right.
Like it would always be a rest day for him. I don't know how many times he has to rest, but hey. I like Dwayne. Dwayne's a homie. But then Jamal was also probably not going to play because of his shoulder and because of his fingers.
Right.
There's pictures of him still wearing bandages and stuff on his fingers from the surgery that he had in the offseason. I imagine that there's probably still an issue with it. Like maybe he's still doing rehab with his shoulder.
Yeah.
But Jamal Adams was not going to practice whether he signed a contract or he didn't. And I think it's the same situation with Dwayne Brown, which it recently came out that Dwayne Brown is now frustrated with his contract situation.
So here's the thing, right? If you look back to the last time this happened with Dwayne Brown when he was on the Texans, he sat out until I believe week 6, played against the Seahawks, and then the next day the Seahawks traded for him and gave him a contract. So obviously I hope it doesn't get to the point where it's like, okay, we have to trade this guy. He's not going to play for us. But at the same time, it's really hard to give a guy an extension who's going to be 37 years old next year. You know what I mean? It's just it's difficult. So Jamal, I'm really not worried about Jamal. A lot of people are freaking out that he's not practicing. It really couldn't bother me less. I mean, the dude knows what he's doing. He's giving his body a rest. He's getting his contract figured out. Totally cool with that. Dwayne Brown, that situation scares me a little bit. I won't lie. Because on one end, he's by far our best offensive lineman. He's our franchise left tackle. But he's going to be 37 years old next year. And so it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, and it especially wasn't aided by the fact that Peter King, potentially one of the most reliable sources in the NFL. He's been in the game for like 30, 40 years. He's just around. And he reported that the Seahawks and Jamal Adams are currently at a stalemate. And Adams is not happy with the latest offer. Yeah.
So we mentioned,
and he also said that I don't necessarily understand what this means. He said he said the Seahawks have stretched themselves quite a bit. I don't really know what that means. I'm assuming that means that they're putting out an offer that they know that he's not going to take, and like, please take it. You know, they're just like,
remember how we were talking about
$15.5 million. Please take it.
Last episode we were talking about the panic button. We're like, don't push the panic button. My finger's here. I'm ready to push it.
Yeah, like no, I'm not that close. I'm like up here. I'm like a solid foot away.
You're like here?
Yeah, I'm like a foot. I'm like you know, like I'm like right there. You know, like if stuff starts to go bad, I can move down quick.
Well, the thing is preseason starts soon. You know, he doesn't have to play in the preseason. He's Jamal.
No, he wasn't going to play in the preseason.
But
I don't think either way.
By preseason week like 2 or 3 the contract.
The Seahawks have like been notorious for not like they do things like. One thing that you have to like semi-respect yet hate about John Schneider and Pete Carroll is that they don't give a damn who you are, unless if you're Russell Wilson or Bobby Wagner. They're going to do things how they do things. So they're going to be like, all right, Jamal, do you want 16? All right, do you want 16.25? All right, do you want 16 and a half? All right, do you want 16.75? All right, do you want 17? All right, do you want 17.275? Like, they're going to keep pushing out like a slightly bigger offer until Jamal says yes, which, guys, don't worry. Jamal will eventually sign a long-term contract with the Seahawks. The question is how much and when. He will sign a contract, and I'm very confident he will.
I do think so, but
on the other side,
my issue with that is like if we wait until, you know, preseason week 3, he won't have practice time. You know, he might be a little rusty for the first couple games, and week 1 and week 2 isn't like the most important thing in the world. But
it might be like an Earl Thomas situation.
Since we're gonna be
I really hope. No, not talking about like with the contract and the middle finger. I'm talking like how Earl Thomas won a contract, didn't practice all the way up until preseason week 4, when he practiced for like 3 days and then played against Denver.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going towards.
I don't think he signs a contract by the season. I really wish I could say so. I just don't think he does.
See, if he doesn't sign a contract by like week 3 of the preseason,
panic. No, if he doesn't sign a contract by mid-season, then that's when you press the panic button. The panic button is a sacred button. You don't go DEFCON 5 until there's like a reason to. If we don't have him signed by like week 6, you can really like put your finger on it. You don't click it, but you put your finger on it. And if it's like by week 10 that he's not on a contract, you click it. You click that button. Because chances are that means that the Seahawks are not doing Jamal Adams right. Because Jamal Adams has said consistently that he wants to stay long-term.
Another issue I have with this, and part of the reason that I'm almost pressing the panic button, is if Jamal Adams feels disrespected by the Seahawks or he feels like they're not appreciating him enough, he'll leave. He'll leave.
Yeah, he'll leave. He doesn't care. I mean, but once again, there always is the franchise tag. Do we want to do that? Hell no. Not. But if it comes to a situation where Jamal Adams does not sign by the time the Seahawks have ended their season, therefore making Jamal Adams an unrestricted free agent by March 16th or whatever the day is that the free agency usually starts?
Yeah.
The Seahawks will guaranteed use their franchise tag like they did with Frank Clark. Now, the question is, will they do the thing with Frank Clark where they sign the contract, which never happened, obviously, with the Seahawks, or do they do the thing where they trade him? And that's the question, because if Jamal Adams gets a trade, if Jamal Adams gets a franchise tag, immediately you even as Seahawks fans, we have to throw him in trade rooms if he does get the franchise tag. Chances of that happening, I would say, are in the decimals right
now. I think personally, I agree with what you're saying, that like we don't want to put the franchise tag, but like, okay, minimum we have him for 2 more years. Minimum. We have him for 2 more years.
Minimum we have him for 2 seasons.
But the thing
I know. I'd say minimum we have him for a season. chances are we have him for 2+ seasons. So the chances are.
Right. I realistically, best case scenario, would have him sign his contract ASAP, but definitely before week 1. I don't want him to play with the contract on his mind, and then if he gets injured, and that's a whole mess. We went through that with Earl Thomas. I don't want to do that again. So get the contract done before the season starts. John Schneider, please. I will pitch in if I have to. I have like a couple $100 in my checking account. Sam has some change.
I did the math realistically during the season when the Seahawks did not have any money. Humans can live with one lung. You can sell a lung on the black market for $150,000. If every single Seahawks fan on Twitter, that follows the Seahawks, which is 2.4 million, if every single Seahawks fan did that and sold their lung and then donated the money to the Seahawks, they would have like an additional like $200 million in cap space. I like that plan.
Sam was prepared for that one. He's like,
that's like DEFCON 5 right there. That's like, oh boy.
We just get a prior. It's like an Amber Alert. We get a priority alert message from John Schneider. It's time. We're like, all right, go to
okay.
You just storm out of the house.
Walk into an ER. I need my lung taken out now. Why? Is there something wrong with it? No, I'm giving it to John Schneider, baby. But
you gotta think we're like in a cult or something.
Yeah, there's like
we want Stephon Gilmore. Stephon.
Yeah, but like real quick to wrap this up before we wrap up. On the other side, I think this is Dwayne Brown's last year as a Seahawk.
But yeah, it's just so hard to extend.
I would love to extend it, and I think that we're gonna try. But Dwayne Brown, if you know who Dwayne Brown is, he holds himself to a very high regard. He's not going to lay over and take like a $9 million contract, which Pete Carroll will offer because it's Pete freaking Carroll.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I don't see Dwayne Brown playing another season after this. I just don't. It's hard for me to imagine. I want to imagine it very much because I think we all underestimate how important Dwayne Brown is for the Seahawks' success. Whenever he's not in the game, the team performs significantly worse because Dwayne Brown is the veteran leader.
He's the backbone.
Russ.
He's the backbone of that offense.
He's the backbone. Russ is like the heart. Russ is the brain. DK's the heart. Chris Carson's like the left leg. Just like, and then you got everything else that kind of falls into place. But if that backbone goes, you're just like, and you just like jelly over, like that.
That's what Russell Wilson's body's gonna look like without Dwayne Brown. Just jelly.
Without Dwayne Brown, it's just gonna be
jelly
on the ground, just like just done. But listen, to wrap this up, extend Jamal Adams and Dwayne Brown. It's that simple. We appreciate y'all for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Drop a like. We have a new channel, Coast to Coast Sports. That will be in the description where we talk about all things non-Seahawk related. We are dropping MLB, NBA content over there, and even NFL content that's, once again, not Seahawk related. But, we'll drop a like, hit that notification bell, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Peace.